This week on the Steam Machine Podcast, you are welcome, Giant Sparrow, because we finished your game for you. Cue the music! Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me this week is one half of the Destructo.
Hey, it's Willie. Also, that intro was my idea, and thank you for delivering it the way it was in my head, because I didn't want it to come off like some 90s, you're welcome type of vibe.
That is fair enough, my good sir. I'm glad I could do its service to you. And also...
Always happy to have my words in your lavish voice.
And also joining us is Team Retrogue. Mikhailov, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I don't sound like Pee Wee Herman, so that's a plus.
You've been gargling that salt water and Listerine real good?
I was about to respond in Pee Wee Herman, and then I stopped myself because I was just going to end up sounding like Goofy. And I did not want to sound like Goofy.
Mikhailov.
That is very different voices.
I may have asked you this before, but I just find it a fun fact. Do you know, canonically, what Goofy's favorite vegetable is?
Oh, I did. Holy shit, I knew what this was. I mean, I know he loves hot dogs, but vegetable? I don't remember.
Squash. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yuck. How do you like your corn? Shucked?
Oh, you know what? I've told that dad joke before, too. I should be ashamed of myself. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go listen to some Radiohead now.
Hey.
Yeah, they did that song "Everything's In," right?
Okay, that's a double reach. We're going too far now.
So Mikhailov, how you been, buddy? What you been up to?
I've been busy as always. Did some work on a handheld called the Lenovo Legion Go S, which is actually sitting in front of me right now. Currently patching Final Fantasy XIV because it's like one game I have not yet tried on, and I'm pretty sure it'll run just fine. But this handheld's a little bit controversial just because they decided to put an old chip into it and give it less cores to work with than most other handhelds, and then they jacked up the price to like $700. So it literally is a handheld that makes zero sense. But I don't know. I'm enjoying it. It's got a nice grip to it. It plays games decently enough. It's got a massive freaking screen. The screen is really what makes this thing.
I think it's huge.
Yeah.
Dude.
It looks like a quality build too. I don't know. The parts
are. It's a very well put together hand. Like, look at this. This is the first handheld that actually has trigger switches.
Looks nice and ergonomic too. Like I like that kind of semi-handle.
Yeah, no, it is. It feels like you're holding a controller. It doesn't weigh that much. It's just they underclocked it something fierce, so it's more expensive than a Steam Deck with like the same power. So it like literally just makes no sense in the world of handheld purchases. But I don't know. I like it. It's charming. I didn't really pay a lot of money for it because I sold other handhelds that I had kicking around to be able to afford it. But I've been playing No Man's Sky on it.
Yeah.
And I think, Dalton, you'll probably talk about this a little bit too. They just released a whole bunch of new shit. And there's a whole expedition that they released to get people exposed to the new shit. And in that is a staff that I really, 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 really want. So I'm playing through it.
Yeah. You got me curious, and then I went and looked, and I was like... Oh, yeah, that staff does look pretty cool. Now, what I'm curious is, does that replace your multi-tool?
Yes, but...
That's bitchin'.
That's all I want out of No Man's Sky right now, is to walk around like freaking Gandalf. With a freaking futuristic staff and a cape. That's all I want out of No Man's Sky right now.
You shall not pastronaut.
But, you know, a funny thing about No Man's Sky, too, and then I'll get off my high horse and let you guys talk. I only really enjoy those games during the expeditions because they give me kind of a sense of purpose. And plus the fact they like throw you in the middle of nowhere and basically everything you've done up to that point means nothing and they just say good luck. and then you could just go back to your save later and import all that stuff once you unlock it. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea of just like having a new set of goals and some things to work toward, and then I fall off of it whenever I get back into the new game proper because then it gets too open.
Yeah, but
I feel like it's one of those games where you got to set your own goals and find something to do.
Yeah.
well,
Building a base is, I think, really helped us.
Yeah,
Not
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if I get into like start getting into base building and shit, then I'll like really want to go out and explore more.
not only that, if you're ever can't figure out what to do in No Man's Sky, press start, go to your journal, and there are 3 main quests that you can do at all times.
Okay.
There's the Atlas path, there's the normal main story, and then there's another one that I can't think of right offhand. But there's 3 different ones, and then by doing those, you'll end up with a bunch of different side quests like build your base, attract people to your base. If you get a freighter, it might tell you to build the base on your freighter, which I personally usually just put my base on my freighter.
That makes sense.
Oh, you're talking about like outposts and stuff. I was meaning just like building like a little place to hang out. Oh no, wait, hold on. I just remembered the base. You mean like having like a weapons guy and all that around? I'm sorry, it's been a minute since I played that game.
Yeah, like having your terminals and all of that, so you can access all that stuff.
It's all right. All your base are belong to us anyways.
There's also a thing that you can get eventually that you build in your freighter base that scans all the planets. So like, when you're flying and you aim at a planet and then you scan and you see what it is, there's a thing in there you can just run up to it, hit it, it scans all of them, so that way when you fly out and you can just look at them and see what they are. You don't need to take the time to scan them all.
Okay. I don't know if if I've ever gotten any of that. At least not yet.
But yeah, now they've added fishing, so you can fish. Now you can cook. I had to do a quest today that I had to make bread.
Yeah, the cooking is interesting to me. Like I didn't think there would be a purpose for that in that game, but I don't know. They may have found one.
Do you have a paraglider? Because I can't wait for another game to become Breath of the Wild.
No, but you do have your jetpack.
Dude, they're making a Monster Hunter game for mobile that's basically going to be Monster Hunter, but it's Breath of the Wild, and they are giving your character a paraglider.
Gliders are cool. I could see why everyone wanted them. Like, I had one in Satisfactory that was really helpful until I got a jetpack. Wait, do I have a jetpack? I don't, actually, so it's still helpful.
Yeah, I mean, they literally added in my brain just blanked, a paraglider in Skyrim.
Did they really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the Anniversary Edition, one of the like little quests that they added is you're walking around and all of a sudden a dude just smacks into the ground. Remember like in Morrowind?
Oh, hell yeah!
Yeah. So you're just like, you're walking around and dude just smacks the ground and you find these notes and you have to go up to and you find where he was at and there's another paraglider up there and stuff and it teaches you how to use it. I don't ever really use it because it's not a mechanic I'm used to. I've been playing Skyrim forever, you know what I mean? But it's there.
Can you jump off like the throat of the world and just really get some hang time?
I bet you could.
I bet you could.
I haven't tried that, but I bet you could.
That
go all the way up there by Parthenax and be like, all right, party snacks, let's race.
Exactly. Just you and Mario flying in the sky.
You called them party snacks.
Yeah, party snacks.
So I cannot play Skyrim without the mod that basically says you don't have to kill Parthenax and the blades aren't going to hate you.
Bruh, let me tell you, the last playthrough I did where I actually beat the story and all of that, and I was putting in a lot of time, I got to that point and realized the mod pack that I was using did not have that quest.
Oh, I forget what they call it. The something Parthenax.
It's the Parthenax dilemma.
That's it, the Parthenax dilemma. That's exactly what it is. It basically takes the dilemma away and makes it so the blades like kind of accept your decision and you don't have to kill Parthenax and you can still be a blade and it all works out. In my original no mod playthrough though, I said fuck the blades. Go fuck yourself.
I killed
guys.
Parthenax.
No, I didn't kill Parthenax.
No, I did.
Oh, you did?
In that playthrough, yeah, I did.
Oh, wow.
I was like, maybe this will stop all these annoying ass dragon spawns.
No.
And it didn't.
No.
So, yeah.
Nope. Nope.
But siding with Parthenax also doesn't stop the annoying ass dragon spawns. So one of my favorite mods is one that dragons don't start spawning until you are like, what was it? Oh no, excuse me. I'm sorry. It was a difficulty mod that was basically saying, do not start the main quest until you're like level 50.
Okay.
Because you will not be able to handle dragons. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like it's going to make the dragon fights interesting because at the point that I'm at with Skyrim, I'm always doing the power fantasy. And dragons become a nuisance more than anything. They just prevent me from fast traveling.
They just show up and you have to yell at them until they fall out of the sky for a minute.
Yeah.
That basically is what you
Like,
do.
behold my cool music and loud yells.
I mean,
Shit.
fuck, if Skyrim didn't have some awesome music. Speaking
Oh, yeah.
of,
Yeah.
speaking
That
of
band
Dane-
I really like, Mechana, covered the Skyrim theme.
Oh,
It's dope.
Okay, that's badass. Like,
Oh, just noticed I had my mic tilted. the wrong
and by
way.
the way, Dalton, like, props to you for bringing up the Black Mages on Media Dump. I
Hell yeah.
actually
Hey, man.
have 2 physical albums from them, 2
They kick ass, dude.
CDs. I love their shit,
They've been doing it a long time. I remember
Yeah.
I first heard them when I was a kid.
and I first heard them when I was in college, and Willie was a kid.
I was a kid once.
When I was a young warthog.
When I was a young
Warthog.
warthog.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, Black Mages, man, they got some ridiculously good stuff.
What have you been up to, Dalton?
What have I been up to? Well, Diana's in town, so we've been going and doing things in, Gainesville, and then we went to World Golf Village, a few different places. I got to see a Buc-ee's.
Oh,
Never been in
nice.
one of those before. That place is wild. It's like a Walmart gas station.
That's exactly the words I was gonna say.
I don't know how else to
Imagine
describe it.
imagine if a gas station was a clean Walmart.
And really, really Texas themed.
Really, it's self-themed almost.
Like, I went in there and they had a whole section where it was like just Texas stuff.
You know, Dairy Queen has their own menu, like different food menu in Texas.
Do they really?
Yeah,
No, I did not.
I don't know what's different about it, but it's a completely different menu in Texas.
No, I didn't know that. But yeah, so we checked out Buc-ee's. That was pretty cool. I went into a Kohl's, and I hadn't been to a Kohl's so long. When I walked in there, I was like, I feel like this is going to be like Sears. And I walked in and I breathed through my nose and went, it even smells like Sears in here.
About as expensive as Sears, too.
Might just be a department store thing. I don't know, but it's always interesting walking around those places.
Smell of fresh clothing.
I remember Sears having a very distinct smell, actually. And I also remember, like, Kmart near the garden center had this really specific plastic smell.
Yeah, oh man, when you get around garden centers, you start smelling fertilizer. It's like, it'll start burning your nose a little bit. Yeah. Oh man. Other than that, dude, let's see. Dabbling in a little more of Pillars of Eternity. That's been fun. Playing some No Man's Sky. And we already talked
Have
about
either of
it.
you finished that expedition, by the way?
I am on phase 3.
Out of...
There's 6
Five.
phases, I think. 5 or 6.
5.
How long do you have? Because I need to start on that.
I think there's like a month left, I want to say.
cool. So-
It's a longie. It's like a 6-week
Yeah.
expedition, but I know myself, if I don't get started on it now, I'm going to wait till the absolute freaking last minute like I did with the Mass Effect one, and I almost didn't get that stuff.
Yeah. So I just been working through that expedition. Man, let me tell you, I hadn't yet seen the planets that the new updates had added right? But I had been looking for them. And then I started the expedition, and it started me on a gas giant.
Right.
And holy mother of God, is there a lot going on those planets. And they are absolutely massive.
They start you off with 2 shields before your thermal protection kicks in, and those shields run out really quick.
Yeah, so on gas giants, I think it's constant storms.
Yeah.
And so they don't count as storms. That's just how it is. And then when a storm comes, it's an extreme storm. So it's like tornadoes, high concentrated clouds of like noxious energy and shit, like lots of lightning. Like I got a couple cool pictures earlier that I sent to you guys where I was on a gas giant and I found a downed freighter and was just snagging some pictures. It was like, oh, the storm claims another.
Yeah. The storm provides. That's from a Disney movie.
But it's fucking wild. Like another picture I took that I don't think I sent to the chat, but like I'm on a planet that's near the gas giant and almost the entire sky is the gas giant. Like the thing is freaking huge.
That starting area, too, like one of the tasks is to land on all the moons that are surrounding the gas giant.
Jesus Christ, that took me so long to find the last one. I kept landing on the same ones over and over and over.
So I landed on one that didn't have much of an atmosphere to it. So I basically just looked up and saw the gas giant. And it took up the majority of the sky. Like, you didn't really see much else. It was just, I know it's like all procedurally generated and everything, but wow, if it just doesn't like find these like just epic moments, these beautiful moments. Shout out to our Patreon, by the way.
Yes, for sure. Willie, a good example of how big these things are. You know, when you're in the sky and you do your pulse with both your R1 and L1 and you do the fast thing and you can kind of zip by a planet in 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you're going past it onto the next one. I think it took me roughly 30 seconds to pulse past the gas giant to get around it to look for other planets and moons to land on. It's pretty wild, bro.
Hey, big dude.
Yeah, they're big old boys, big old balls in the sky.
Great balls of
gas. Big balls of gas.
Balls in the sky.
Boomba to you, everything's gas.
Please take me to heaven. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying that. My current quest that I'm on is I have to find a water planet, and I need to find an ocean, and I need to go at least 1,000 units down.
Dave the Diver.
So far, I have only found a planet that I could go about 350 units down. And let me tell you, at 350 units down, it's pitch fucking black, except for all of the bioluminescent stuff at the bottom of this particular planet or ocean on this planet. So to find one that's 1,000 deep is going to be intense. Let me just say, it'll be Subnautica type shit.
Send you into a blood ocean in your little submarine.
Because I had gotten out of my little submarine because I was collecting sea glass, which is one of the things that you have to collect for one of the missions. And then I just started to jetpack straight up to see how long it would take. And I started seeing sea creatures. There were some like manta rays. There was like a giant squid looking thing. There were some big old fish and stuff. But like the giant squid thing was absolutely huge. And the manta rays were also absolutely massive. And I was just like, I'm just not going to go towards them. I'm just going to keep going up. I stopped to take a few pictures and then just moseyed on.
Scram, kid.
I didn't feel like dying down there. Other than that, man, just been playing the game of the week and some Yakuza.
Yakuza.
We can talk more about that on the next episode, but man, love me some Kiryu. But Willie, what you been up to, my good sir?
I've been doing a couple little game things. I appreciate that you were able to find me a really good discount on a copy of the game everyone was playing. All the streamers were playing like 5 years ago. Bennett Foddy's Getting Over It. Because, everyone played it because it was really hard and annoying, and I wanted to see how hard and annoying it was. It's really hard and annoying. I don't know what I expected.
Yeah, I was kind of like wondering why you wanted to play that, but I was like, yeah, sure, man. Let me see what I can find for you.
If it makes it make any more sense, I saw the old clip of the Game Grumps playing it, and I was like, I'm sure I'm better at games than Aaron Hansen, so I'm going to just get further than he did. And I got stuck at the same place he did, so I consider that a W.
Isn't that the game where like you're a dude in a pot and you move with a sledgehammer?
Mm-hmm.
I saw somebody playing like a VR version of that recently.
Yeah, I think you might have sent us to it. There was a game that was like really, really, really clearly inspired by that game, but it was like a 3D VR first person.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I would just feel like it would just infuriate me to play something like that.
Yeah, although I would like to try like some climbing game in 3D. Like I think there's a VR climbing game that isn't as memes. It might be a lot of fun to play. But I was having fun with this game because like I don't really tend to get mad at games as much as other people do. So like when the game was deliberately trying to piss me off, I'm like, wow, they have like 3 different versions of going down the road feeling bad to play when you fall down. Just like kind of in awe of how like it is really trying its best to get your goat while pretending like it's not. I'm just reassured. Everything's cool. Here's some inspirational quotes from like Abraham Lincoln and shit. Then I also played a really cool text like mystery game. It's kind of a text adventure, but it uses a parser, but it has a really specific thing you're doing in it. It's called Type Help. It's available on itch.io. I saw people talking about it on some forum thread, and it's just a really cool game where there's like kind of a murder mystery going on, and the classic like House on Haunted Hill type setup of everyone gets invited to a mansion and people start dying and stuff. It was like that, but with some interesting like horror twists to it that I thought were pretty cool. The game starts with you're going through the log of like an agent who has solved the case but then immediately died, and you're trying to work out what happened. Guy going through his hard drive.
Huh.
And
that sounds cool.
Yeah. So the goal is you have to kind of figure out the naming scheme he uses to write down to like record the audio logs basically of what was happening in each. But the only way you can actually get the logs is basically you have to identify who all was in each room at what point in time, and then you get the log for that. So you're kind of opening up because your goals are to figure out where everyone's going, what their motivation is, who has like certain objects that go from one place to another, who's trying to get where, when, and how people died, etc. But even like the murder itself is really strange. Like it takes a while before you figure out what's going on, and it's really interesting.
Oh, you sent us the link to that, didn't you, earlier today?
I did.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I can send the link the link in the chat too. Or in the chat. Sure. Hold on. It's William-Rouse. That's ROUS.itch.io/type-help. It's a pretty cool game. Like I got about 6 hours out of it. Is that the one that
you sent the like CD of it?
It's the one that had the CD looking thing. Yeah. It's the image. It was really cool. I really enjoyed it. Like you could basically spend a really long afternoon puzzling over it. I solved like 90% of it on my own, and eventually went down to the bottom of the screen to see like, come on, spoil me on the last bit. But once you start figuring it out, you even go back to other rooms and stuff starts making really, really interesting.
Word up.
Let's see. I can't think of anything. I thought I had one more thing to go through this week, but I can't.
Fair enough. I feel the same way. Like, there's probably other things that I could talk about, but I just don't remember at the moment.
Oh yeah, also that game I mentioned, it's free playable in browser, by the way, so it's got that going. I know a lot of times itch.io is like pay your own price, but this one's just straight up play in browser.
Oh, that's what's up. I've seen a couple that are like that, but I feel like that's few and far between. Well, boys, you want to talk about some obligatory Wikipedia bullshit?
Is it unfinished?
It may be. I haven't read through the whole thing.
It would be pretty awesome if you went to there and it said, this article is
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Well, The Unfinished Swan is an adventure video game developed by Giant Sparrow and published by Sony Computer Entertainment for PlayStation 3 in October 2012. The game starts with a completely white space in which the player, a boy named Monroe, voiced by Nicholas Marge, is chasing after a swan that has escaped a painting, while simultaneously learning the story of a lonely king. The PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita versions of the game, which were developed by Armature Studios, were released in October of 2014, and the game was released on Microsoft Windows and iOS by Annapurna Interactive, September 2020.
Wow, so it took a while to come out on non-Sony systems.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I mean, I played it back in the day on PS3.
I didn't realize it was a PS3 game, and I bet it would have been a mind-blowingly beautiful experience for the time. Like, not to say it's not a pretty game today, but just like, that would have been so crazy to see when you're used to, first gen of HD video game graphics.
Well, dude, okay. Oh, go ahead, Will. I mean, go ahead and make...
I remember hearing about it, and I just remember like very little things about it. I think it might have even been featured on like an IGN article, or it might have been on like I might even go so far as to say I might have seen it on like X Play or some shit, or Attack of the Show.
That's possible,
like
yeah.
I just remember hearing about it a long time ago and thinking, how interesting is that?
I don't remember. I think I got it free through the PlayStation Plus thing, where they would just give away free games every now and then back then. And I loaded it up and was like, what the fuck is going on? Everything's just white. What is this? And then I hit a button and I threw a ball and it splatted. And I was like, all of a sudden I had perspective on how to move. And I'm like, oh, so blew my mind back then.
Oh, yeah, when we get to first impressions, I have a very similar thing to say.
Well, I mean, we can roll right into that. What were your first impressions, my good sir?
I didn't realize it was a first-person game, so I was holding my joystick and basically moving, or I used my game controller for it, and I was basically pressing the button that makes you jump over and over again and turning around in circles instead of, walking in a line or whatever, because I thought it was going to be like a 2D type of game. And I'm pressing those buttons, and I'm like, okay, I'm making noise. Something should be happening. I can't see anything except like a cursor in the middle of the screen, which isn't obviously a cursor. It's just a little circle. Yeah. And then And I'm just started kind of flicking buttons, and I hit the right trigger, which was mapped to throw paintball. And at that moment, I'm like, oh, everything has just changed.
Yeah,
that was the most interesting introduction I've ever had to a game, just because I had no idea what was happening, and suddenly, instead of let there be light, it was like, let there be dark. And in this shadow, I began to find perspective.
Absolutely. Mikhailov, what about you?
So as I mentioned before, I had heard of this game previously. I just never had actually played it. So what I ended up doing was I knew right off the bat that I had to just start throwing ink and all that. And I knew that that was how I was going to navigate just because I had seen it years ago being referenced somewhere. So my big first impression wasn't from that because I knew about that part of the game. My big thing was what came a little bit later, because then you start getting some story. You get to find out about who the king actually is. And from there, the game actually changes. And I legit thought that the entire game was just going to be the ink splatting to get around. I thought it was going to be just a giant maze. And and it was only the first part of the game. And so that's more when I saw the changes. And it was just one little line about like the king promising shadows because his subjects were complaining about, not being able to find the toilet or running into a building and all that. And so he's like, okay, I'm going to promise you some shadows, but stop painting my kingdom. And then as that story, which presented itself like a storybook page, was, finished, I walk a little bit this way and then entire game changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, me playing this back in the day as a kid, I had never experienced anything like this. I hadn't played what we now know as a walking simulator, so this was a very different thing for me. So just, their perspective of it all, having to find your way, seeing a glowing golden letter on the wall and being like, what the hell is that? And throwing a paintball at it and it makes a page appear and suddenly the narrator is reading to you and stuff. I was like, this is super cool.
Really pleasantly surprised the first time the narrator showed up in the game world too, because like I had thought that the storybook conceit was just the very beginning of the game and like setting you up for the dream you're in, because it seemed pretty obvious to be telling me to, you read the story, you go to sleep and now you're dreaming or whatever. But then the narration's back and you're like, oh, this is the fairy tale. Awesome.
Yeah, and then shifting into the rest of the game, that moment where all of a sudden he decides to start shading things, and everything changes.
I was very grateful for that too, because when I first started the game, I was like, once I started splatting stuff for a while, moved through the lake or swamp or whatever it is, I was like, I do not want to do this for 3 hours. This is cool, but oh man, it's going to be a lot. And then once there was actual stuff to follow, it's like, okay, now I'm enjoying exploring this place.
Yeah, I think that I felt like they introduced mechanics to you in a very good way. Like each time you kind of got to the new chapters, there was like a new thing that you had to deal with, which I thought was nice. But yeah, I just remember that moment where everything was shaded and suddenly I was like, oh, that's cool. And then you get to that where you walk out onto that balcony and it's a semi-Oblivion style moment, because you don't actually go and deal with all of that, but you look out on that big maze with the castle in the middle of it and you're like, oh my God, is that what this game is going through that?
And it turns out that actually wasn't that bad.
There's a map right in the room before. I just took a screenshot of it.
So
I'm sure people back in the day probably just drew it.
I mean, I didn't even do that. I just made my way through it. The game kind of holds your hand through that area. It's not hard to navigate. And it's mostly you're just going like, you're on the right path because you see like the symbols of the kingdom.
I was also going to say, what would you classify this game as? Because it almost felt like a puzzle game where the puzzles were too easy to call it a puzzle game. But as far as like, Dalton said walking simulator earlier, which I guess kind of makes sense, but I thought of it as an adventure, just a really simple and straightforward adventure.
I thought of it as I don't want to say visual novel. I'm going to say visual children's book.
It's a visual golden book. I like that.
See that? It's a kid's. It's like a fairy tale story, but they gave it mechanics to make it a quote unquote game.
Yeah, it's like interactive, but like in a very. I mean, it's you're going through. It's. I think the maze thing is a good metaphor too, because it's like, do you consider going through a corn maze to be playing a game? Because that's about the level of it. And I would say, kind of, is my answer. So it's certainly a fun activity. I loved it. I'm going to go ahead and say that I feel like it being interactive made it way more fun to go through it. It wouldn't have had as much of a punch as a short animated film.
I wouldn't call it so much of a game as an experience.
I feel like we've been running into that a little bit lately too.
But it's not an experience like Higurashi was. Like Higurashi was just a straight up book. Like
right.
This one, like I kind of wanted Higurashi to be a little bit like this. Like at least in this game, you get to navigate the landscape and kind of interact and do things for yourself. And I wanted to do that in Higurashi. Like I wanted to walk around the town and I wanted to talk to people and I wanted to talk to the kid. Like that's the only difference is that like Higurashi was very populated and animated and there were characters to fall in love with. And here you're just like the only person you really can have sympathy for is Monroe.
There's Monroe, there's the Swan, and there's the King. I think there's one other character, the Giant.
But the Giant is... I was expecting the Giant to have more of a role than he did.
Right? Yeah.
And it kind of just didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
I figured the Giant was part of a metaphor.
Yeah, so you get into the area where it's all shaded and you kind of make your way through there, into the maze. This game does have a bit of, and this is something that I don't have a problem with. A lot of people complain about it online, but like the yellow paint thing. I mean, this game's got golden ladders. Like that's what you're looking for. If you need to climb somewhere, you'll see a golden ladder, or there will be something yellow, and that's what you can grab on to hold. But in a world like this, I feel like that helps because everything's black and white with shade. You need a little.
The game is extremely flat colored, by the way. Like when we said shading, we meant literally like single color, like gray shadows added on things, not like you go into like a 3D garage shaded digital 3D demo. It's very, very flat, very stylized.
Yeah, it's not until the second part of the game, because it was parts and then chapters of the parts. So, yeah, the second part of the game where you're introduced, suddenly you're not throwing black paintballs anymore. You're throwing almost like water balls that are blue, and you're having to grow vines.
I hated that part.
I found that very sad.
I hated that part.
Really?
Yeah, because I would always get lost. I could never find where the end of the vines were, and then I'm like, well, I know I'm supposed to climb somewhere, and that level took me way longer than I wanted it to. I didn't really care for the vine
I don't want to give
mechanic.
spoilers for the solution to a children's game, but wherever there's cracks in the walls, that's usually an area where the vines could grow. And if you threw the water balloons ahead of the vines instead of where they were, they would usually grow towards them.
See, the cracks to me were an indication that I'm not supposed to go that way because then the vines would go into the cracks and they would stop.
Yeah, but that would also show you like the boundaries to where they go. So it's like channel them through.
You know, I eventually did figure it out. It's just it was my least favorite part of the game. The forest though.
I thought it was just such a magical feeling though when they like overcame a trellis or a side of a bridge and you could climb over.
Yeah.
It kind of was like really joyous about bringing that color and life to otherwise a blank white world.
And that world didn't want that color. Like the vine.
Yeah, I also enjoyed the fact that it was kind of pissing the king off to be doing it.
That's because the vines were indicative of like they were representative of like an overgrowth because the area or the city had been abandoned, and so the vines are actually a symbol of his kingdom kind of deteriorating and aging without a population because there's nobody there to take care of them.
I would say it's less that and more, I mean, even when there was a population, villagers would water the plants and stuff because it got under the king's nerves. So I think the idea was that the king was such a perfectionist and was so bent on decreeing everything that what he hated about the vines was it was something he couldn't control.
That's also true.
Yeah.
This is the kind of game this is where we suddenly start talking about stuff that is pretty much entirely mentioned in single-page storybook segments and is all metaphor.
Yeah.
So, can we talk about Monroe for a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah. So, Monroe is, I guess, an orphaned kid, basically.
Yeah.
And the idea was that he could only bring one painting with him to the orphan. His mother was a painter, and she made all these paintings, but he brought a painting of a swan that she never painted the neck of.
And so I just had a lot of emotions when it came to playing as a lost child. from someone who basically rescued a lost child.
Right.
Yeah, I figured this game was going to punch you right in the feels.
It did, because poor Monroe, like, it's exactly the opposite of what happened with Kyle, because when Kyle's life kind of fell apart, we were immediately there to pick up the pieces and help him continue his life, to the point where he doesn't even remember a life before us. But Monroe, he's older. He remembers his mother. He remembers his mother fondly, and the game is unclear as to whether he finds that purpose or not, or as to whether another family finds him. As a matter of fact, his mother's death is still very raw in his mind. So this dream he's kind of going through is his way of coping. And you just go through this game wondering, like, I hope this kid's going to be all right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's definitely, it's got its heavy moments that I don't think would resonate with a kid like it would an adult.
Right.
Because I definitely got more out of playing it this time as far as the story goes and what the story was hinting around and things like that than I did when I was a kid, because I kind of just took it as face value when I was younger.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, but there's a lot more to read into this game, because there's a lot that's not explained or not openly explained to you. It's a lot of...
There's a lot I think is strongly hinted.
Yeah.
Like, but if you try to read everything as a one-for-one metaphor, I don't think that quite works.
No, there's a lot of meaning to be found, and I think that the meaning that you're going to find is going to be different depending on where you are in your life or what you've gone through in the past. And so it's a very interpretive experience. And, if I'm going to pull a theme without spoiling, is, I think there are major themes of finding your purpose after a trauma, and kind of...
Oh, absolutely. I would say that's the sense.
Yeah, and kind of rebuilding yourself and figuring out how you're going to continue, because you have to continue, otherwise the alternative isn't great. So, and also, I got a lot of that out of it.
I also think it told the story of a man who was obsessed with his work, and then he meets this woman and he loves her and he showers her with gifts, but the only gift she kept, it's said the only gift she ever kept that he gave her was that paintbrush. Everything else she gave away because she couldn't care less. And in the end, she left him and his kingdom behind because he was so focused on painting and trying to give her all these things, but he never spent time with her.
Right.
So like there was a lot that kind of hinted around that too. And then you end up finding out that the king, and this is, I guess, spoilers, but this game is 12 years old, 13 years old.
Yeah, it's also 3 hours long. So
I was gonna say, but
a little bit hesitant to go full spoiler.
Yeah, but and by that logic, like, I think this is a game that should be experienced by our listeners. So
okay, well then never mind.
I don't want to, like, I'm sorry. I don't.
It's cool. I would love to discuss like conclusions off air though, because I actually want to know if you guys came up with the same ideas I had, because I think I might have come to a slightly different.
Well, then from when you grow the vines, from there you end up getting tossed into an area that's darkness. There's a lot of darkness.
Yeah, it was the nighttime.
Yeah,
to make it through that. That was a section that took me the longest.
And that,
half blind.
And that was the first time you actually saw real color as well. Like, you actually looked up and you saw the night sky, and it was the night sky. It was not a white depiction of the night sky. It was the night sky. But even like the moon was cracked. Like, there were a lot of detail went into that level. Like, it was
and of course the color.
It was the first level you can die in.
I mean, you can fall in water, but you just end up at the same place. There's not really any consequences if you goof.
No, you just...
Yeah, if you stay in the dark too long, you just kind of take damage and die, I guess.
Yeah. Just like reset in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember just the creepy red eyes in the darkness just being, well, creepy.
I found it actually kind of like, wow, this game kind of got dark and spooky for a kid's game, and I kind of felt like when pushing the light through the like half pipey logs and all that, I was kind of like, man, I really hope this light doesn't get away from me too far. And when it did start rolling, I'm like, no. Like I kind of got that feeling of being that lost kid who does not know where he's going through the dream logic.
Yeah, dude, I'd say one moment that made my butthole pucker was when you're having to move that ball of light up the log, up to the section, and then up the other log. I got it up the other log and then was trying to do something, and it bounced and then rolled back down. And I'm like, no! So I'm going to chase after it and stop it before it rolled down the other one. It was like, oh, no. But yeah, I died plenty in that section because I would just be like, oh, I guess I should go this. Oh, nope, that's not the way I should go.
And then the platforming got interesting in that section because you ended up being able to create platforms at one point.
Yeah, it suddenly got more like that could have been the key, jump in point, like hook to a puzzle game. And I'm glad that they kind of just used it as a, actually they used it in a really interesting way because it ended up linking together like two perspectives of the same area.
Yeah, it was real strange when you would jump into like the blueprint space world.
Yeah.
And build things and then hop back into the reality, and the things that you built were there to help you progress. It was an interesting mechanic.
I thought that was really cool though. I thought it was an awesome mechanic.
I did too. I think it's funny that we're perceiving that as the reality, the baseline reality, because even in the game's ideas, I think that's still the dream. It's just you left the dream within a dream that is the blueprint world.
Well, then, and the whole theme of the game is about creation and, you know, wanting to kind of create things that last and people are going to remember you for. So I kind of felt it only natural that you would have to create at some point in the game.
And I'll say something too. There's one thing about the game's overall story arc that actually kind of surprised me. Is I spent most of the game vaguely pissed off at the king for constantly half-ass creating stuff and never finishing anything. And by the end of the game, I kind of like understood where he was coming from.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. But I don't know. I liked Monroe as a character. I feel like it was PlayStation All-Stars had a level that you'd be playing on, and all of a sudden, because, you know, that was like the PlayStation version of Smash, and all of a sudden, the level just turned into the Unfinished Swan.
That is kind of cool.
And because I watched a guy talk about it on YouTube, like, because I had, like, it was like randomly the dude had put up the video like 2 or 3 weeks ago, hadn't released a video in years, and just released it on the Unfinished Swan. So I was like, no, well, let me check this out. And he was talking about how he was watching some other big time YouTuber who was talking about PlayStation All-Stars and mentioned, he's like, yeah, you know, and then all of a sudden the level turns into some like hand-drawn thing that's some reference to some game that no one's ever played. And I was like, oh, what a hater. It's such a good game. People should play it.
Now you mentioned the hand-drawn section. Yeah, there's like a bunch of different little art styles. Like I mentioned the ultra-flat look of the first case, but yeah, as Mikhailov mentioned, the like realistic night sky in part. There's like a penciled-in kind of area. It's all really interesting. Like it's a short game, but it gives you a lot of different things to look at.
It gives you a lot to think about too.
Yeah.
The hardest part to me, and I think again it just has to do with partly because of my eyesight and maybe because my brightness isn't all the way up on my monitor, but
so to speak.
The section where you get to the end in the darkness and you're up to that section with the giant king statue with the big hole in it, and all of a sudden the water starts rising and you got to run up that thing. I died so many times there because I could not find the path to start going up.
Oh, you didn't just jump straight forward as soon as you knocked the lemon out?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it took me, I definitely kicked the bucket there a couple times, and then a couple times doing the escape too, because man, I was not expecting a sudden Metroid timed escape mission.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, at the end with the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, suddenly it's a video game? What the hell?
Yeah, no, I died a couple times in that because, yeah, there was that one part that you described where I died because, like, I hit the thing and then, like, it goes, and then actually I think Monroe even says, like, no way! Like, there's even, like, a little bit of dialogue there.
Yeah, and then once you get inside the tower, I drowned there 2 or 3 times before my eyes noticed that the table was rising.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
I think you jump on the table.
Yeah.
I fucking missed the table my first time. I saw it and just jumped in the water instead. I'm like, no!
Well, at least I'm not the only one that died there.
Yeah, no, I wasn't expecting the water level to rise. I was expecting something because the alarm was going off. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I thought I was just in troubles.
Now, possibly my favorite part of the game that I laughed at real hard this time is when you're getting towards the end and the narrator's talking to Monroe. I guess it's the king talking to Monroe at this point, which, the king's been narrating the whole time. It's like, and
no, the king is
is it? Okay. Well then,
there's a woman's voice reading the storybook, and then the king is actually voiced by Terry Gilliam.
Well, he is talking to you and he says, and then the credits appeared.
Yes.
And Monroe's like, what?
You have credits?
You have credits,
in your dream? Yes, and subtitles too.
It was so good, dude. But I really appreciated how they did the credits.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I thought that was really cool how they just kind of worked them into the final level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man. So I was happy that we finally got to play this. I've been wanting to play this since I started the show.
Really? This has been a long, one you really had high hopes on.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm glad we finally got around to it. I'm glad it came out for PC in the first place, because it would have been sad if this was stuck on PS3 for forever and only a couple people remembered it.
I agree. It would have bummed me out because I have it on my PS3, like I said, but it wouldn't have been something that we could have done for the show. So right. I'm glad it's come to PC, and I hope more people check it out. Maybe this will get at least some listeners of ours to check it out and see what they think about it.
We've said this a few times about games recently, but it's short. It's an experience of playing. Like, I'm sure you'll enjoy your time with it, because it was just very pleasant. Like, the sound and graphics, feeling of exploration were just really nice.
And it is $14.99 on Steam when it's not on sale. So if you catch it on sale, I think it goes on sale for like $5 or less. So I would say it's definitely worth it. You always want to give it some ratings?
I'm down to clown.
All right. Well then, Willie, let's start off with you. You're wearing a red shirt.
But that means I'm a villain in this game. You want to climb up the gold and stuff in this game.
That's fair.
Unfortunately, no one's wearing gold in this game. Mikhail's in the shadows, and you're just wearing brighty red.
No, this is pink.
Pink is brighty red.
Animal Crossing.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah, I didn't notice that. I just saw the word Puma and assumed it was like Puma the sports.
I mean, it is, but it's also Animal Crossing.
But it's also Animal Crossing, which I didn't see. Oh.
That's a crossover.
Anyways.
I didn't know existed.
Yeah, I've got 2 Animal Crossing Puma shirts, actually.
That's cool. Do you have Puma pants?
Poo on these nuts.
Ew.
I'd really rather not.
Yeah, don't do that.
That's nasty.
Anyhow, I would say that this game was, like I said, it's really lovely and pleasant, and also, again, one of those things that's so hard for me to categorize and put some objective sounding number down for, just because I really liked it, and I don't know what my scale for this kind of thing is. Like, if this isn't a 10, I don't know what a 10 would look like for this kind of game, but it also doesn't feel like this thing is what I would call a 10 video game. So I'm just gonna say it's 8 water balloons out of 10 helium balloons, and just hope that a general thumbs up is a good enough answer. It's good. I don't know what to tell you. It's good. It's pretty. It's arty. It's fun. It's nice. It brings you a pleasant sense of childhood while also tackling some heavy topics.
I can agree with that. Mikhailov, what about you, buddy?
I'd say everything that Willie said pretty much. I think there's a lot of meaning here. I mean, it's not something that you're going to play if you want to like kick butt, but if you want to just, have an experience and get some decent story and be able to look around at a beautiful setting that kind of just unfolds in front of you, and to hear the purpose behind it and the real world purpose behind it on top of that. It's totally worth your time to just take 3 hours out of your day. And I played it on the Legion Go S, and I sat there. I played it in one sitting. Like, the battery didn't even die in the time it took me to play the game. And let me tell you, that was just playing it on a handheld it was a good experience. I didn't expect it to be otherwise, but it's perfect game for a handheld. Like, I'm surprised it didn't come out on one, back in the era of the Vita and all that. Oh, you said it came out on Vita.
Yeah, it came out on Vita.
Oh, never mind. It's a great handheld game.
I'm surprised it didn't come out on Vita. It's so surprised that it did.
Yeah. So
you just like gaslit yourself, homie.
Well, no, because Vita was like...
Yeah, you immediately forgot Vita existed.
No, I knew Vita existed, but Vita exists for you to mod it and be able to play Nintendo games
Yeah,
on
I
it.
hear people talk about it as an emulation station.
Yeah, but there's also like a lot of really good JRPGs that came out on Vita that are lost to time. So I'm actually glad that this is out on PS3, and I'm glad it's out on PC, and I'm glad it's not stuck on the Vita system. I'm glad you could play it on a Windows or handheld or a Steam Deck or anything like
Even
that.
an iPhone, apparently.
What's that?
Even an iPhone, apparently.
I didn't know it was on iPhone. That's interesting.
I think that's what he said. Annapurna did the iOS and the
Windows and iOS. Yep.
Oh, not Android though.
I guess not.
Huh. Well, either way, I'm gonna give this 8 lazy giants out of 10 whiny bitchy subjects. Let the king have his kingdom the way he wants it, damn it. It's his kingdom. He's got the paintbrush. You didn't have to come. You could have stayed where you were, where it was all nice and colorful. You chose to go to White Land. Stop bitching about it.
That was a very... You don't have a job, Kyle. Yelling at your dogs for not paying the rent.
All right, so
I'm down, though.
this game has a great story. It was a good time. It didn't overstay its welcome, as some games like this can do. But it was just such a beautiful little story. And
You know the funny thing about you saying it didn't overstay its welcome is I feel like if it had tried to go for a 10, it probably would have ended up as a 7. I just have this 8 limit for games that do a good amount perfectly but aren't aiming for a 10, if you know what I mean.
yeah, I mean, this wasn't aiming to revolutionize gaming.
Yeah. But they did make a really, really cool story told in a really neat way.
Yeah, in a very neat way. And I think nostalgia will probably give it the extra point because I played this back, a long time ago. But I'm gonna give it a 9. I'm gonna give it 9 unfinished swans out of 10 finished swans.
And honestly, I mean, I could have seen myself giving it a 9 on a different day too. It just depends on how I weight things. These numbers aren't objective; they're how I feel.
Plus, like there's things we didn't talk about that kind of take away from my rating. Like, there wasn't really a point to having the balloon collectibles because, well, you could unlock new ways to go through the game. You couldn't actually use those unlocks until you beat the game. Like, they were more of a tool for 100% completion than they were something to enhance your experience. And so, like...
But you could use some of them on your first playthrough. You could use clear paintballs and you can use the hose.
Yeah, but...
And the time freeze.
Yeah, but I don't know. I didn't use anything. I
bought the time or the clear paintballs and immediately didn't use it again.
Yeah, no, I just didn't. I didn't need to use any of it. The game doesn't really...
I'm tempted to go back through and look for the balloons, though, because you get a balloon detector your second.
Oh, I didn't know that. But the game doesn't really encourage you to do that. It's like they only put that in there for...
I thought that was cool. It's just fucking there.
Yeah.
You can do it if you don't have to.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I guess that it wasn't like a forced upgrade like in Doom Eternal where you have to upgrade in order to survive that game. But, yeah, all right. I guess that's all I got to say about that.
And that's all I got to say about that.
That was an odd way of phrasing it.
That was Forrest Gump.
Oh, okay.
When's the last time you watched that movie?
What is with all these white red pill, blue pill questions we always get?
I don't know.
Oh, it's a format, whatever.
They love it. I don't see one this time though.
I see at least one. I see one. I'm counting the first one.
What, the sandwiches? Word? All right, well, yeah, that is our first question, so we might as well just start off with it. From Jeff! He gave us a picture with a bunch of sandwiches on it, and then we have to pick our 3 favorite hot sandwiches. We have the Euro, the Cubano, the meatball sub, the Philly cheesesteak, the grilled cheese, the chicken parm, the French dip, pulled pork sandwich, and a banh mi, or banh mai.
But we only have to...
Banh mi.
We can only pick 3 of these?
You can only pick 3.
I'm going to have to be leaving some real good homies behind on this one.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think I dislike any of these.
No.
These are all at least 6 out of 10 minimum.
Seriously? Is this a Jeff question?
This is a Jeff question.
It is.
Jeff sucks.
Sucks.
He's also a duck.
Also, he's a duck.
Yeah, man, I would order any of these and be happy with it. Like if I went to a restaurant and this is what they had. So,
as long as
sorry, go ahead.
favorite,
my 3 favorite, I think I'm going to go Philly Philly cheese, chicken parm, pulled pork sandwich.
All right, so it's going for the more American classic type vibes. I appreciate that. I guess chicken parm is technically Italian, but Italian food's basically American at this point.
Hey.
That's fair.
I think making it a sandwich is definitely not an Italian way of handling it.
So, as long as I don't have to eliminate the rest of them.
Yeah, I think it just says pick your favorite, not 3 live and the rest die.
Okay.
So at least we have that going for us this time.
And it's really hard not to put grilled cheese on the top 3, but I'd say grilled cheese is a solid 4.
Yeah, it's the B+. It's a hard worker.
Yeah.
You always want it on your team, but it's hard to call it a favorite. If it was a top 4, you probably would have put it at number 5. You know?
So I guess I'm gonna go chicken parm, pulled pork. God, it's really hard to choose between Philly cheesesteak and meatball sub.
Yeah.
But I've already got the meat and the sauce and the cheese covered in chicken parm, so I guess I'm gonna go Philly cheesesteak.
See, that's kind of my thinking too. Is you get the one kind of Italian type sandwich with the marinara on it, so the other one would be redundant.
That's it.
So I think I'm also going to take the chicken parm for that reason, but I'm also going to go with the gyro and the banh mi because some days you just need that change of pace with the really good veggies on it.
Why are we calling it a euro?
Because that's how it's pronounced.
Gyro?
Oh.
Greek. I don't know why it's pronounced that way because it looks like it should be gyro.
Or Gyro del Toro.
Gyro del Toro.
Euro del Toro. Euro del Taco.
Gyro del Taco.
Yes, we made it. We made it there. Euro would be number 4 on my list. Dude, those are so good. So good. So our next question comes in from Kana. Poorly describe your favorite Square Enix game without using any words from the main series. Name, characters, or specific terminology.
Okay. I think I got it.
Yokel from the past hijacks a time machine and drives it directly into the apocalypse.
Spend $30 a month to do a whole bunch of things and feel like you're never getting anywhere.
A treadmill that makes you fatter.
You described it better than I did. Holy shit.
A kid gets ripped from his reality and he has to save lots of fantastical worlds.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. I like you. You've made it Kingdom Isekais. I like it.
It's, the name of that anime would be like,
My cleric duck can't be this cute.
yeah. One day I fell asleep and then woke up on another world with Disney characters.
That time I fell asleep on the island and a mouse became the king.
That time I fell asleep on the island and my mage just said gorsh.
Gosh. And then the chef came out and cooked some squash.
So
Squash back on the menu, boys.
A couple of odd moments from that game. Huey, Dewey, and Louie were the shopkeepers. And I forget what Squall's purpose was, but he was there too.
Didn't he have some weird thing where he refused to call himself Squall and he was going by some other dumb shit?
Leon.
Oh, that's not even that clever because that's like his last name almost.
It is his last. Well, it's the first 4 letters of his last name.
He's like Leonhardt,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's Lionheart, but yeah.
Lionheart. It means the same thing. It's just French.
Leon. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure why. Like, it's like Cloud's there. But I mean, Cloud's there because
Cloud's got his own quest.
Cloud's there because he wants to fight Sephiroth. But then, like, why is Sephiroth there? So it's just funny.
Sephiroth's there to freaking kill you, dude. Optional boss fights rule.
That fight is ridiculous. So the next question.
I've been told.
Never got that far in that game.
I don't think I'm going to.
What? Y'all, come on now.
No, because it's an optional boss fight, I thought.
You're not.
Like, if it's in the main story, I'll do it. I'll finish Kingdom Hearts.
No. It's definitely. It's like a super boss at the end of the Coliseum.
Okay.
Next question comes in from Kana. You wake up as Taylor Swift. It's the first thing that you do.
I'm not going to say.
So I have an easy answer for this. If I wake
I
up.
think my answer is the exact opposite of yours.
So I wake up. I'm Taylor Swift. I'm going to figure out who I bank with.
Yeah.
And I am going to go and write a check to one Dalton Suter and just send myself some cashola. Or I'll go pull money out and I'll go bury it somewhere.
I was thinking the burial route too, actually.
And then-
I didn't even think of writing a check, to be honest.
Yeah, but you
come
got to
back
keep in mind, you have to keep in mind, Taylor Swift is not where you are.
Yeah,
So
I know.
if you're gonna bury
Go
it,
there. There's enough money to make it
I was going
worth
to say, Taylor's got enough money that if I wanted to, fly to Gainesville and then drive to Keystone, walk into my backyard, and then fly back, I could do all that in a day with that kind of money.
And I'm sure your family would be real normal about Taylor Swift showing up with a shovel.
I think that they would...
Trust me, there's a plan.
I think they would just assume that something was going on, especially if I was in a catatonic state in bed or something. Weirder shit's happened in Florida.
My answer is... By the way, my answer is I am laying in bed for the next 24 hours doing absolutely nothing. Because if she finds out whatever happened and she writes a mean song about me, I will die.
That's fair. You don't want to face the wrath of the revenge song.
No. She's too powerful. She'll kill me.
So you're talking about the first thing I would do is I think I would make a cup of coffee and go take a shower.
That sounds pleasant. You're just like, I'm going to have a normal day, except
Yeah.
I'll do her concert later on. I don't know the words, but I don't think the fans will care that much.
Yeah, there's no ulterior motive to that at all.
No. Have a cup of coffee. Actually, you know what? Screw showers. I'm going to take a bubble bath. I'm going to take a nice long bubble bath.
Pamper yourself.
Now you're just being gratuitous.
Listen, I got Taylor Swift money. I can afford to sit in my own filth.
That's fair enough. It'll be like
on a jet plane.
a cradle with filth.
Damn it, Dalton.
You got to imagine that Taylor Swift's got a really nice bathtub.
I never really thought of it before, but man, I have often imagined what my super $1 million house would look like, and a fancy bathroom is definitely
Especially if it's one of those bathtubs with jets. Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You want kind of an indoor hot tub type
coffee, and a nice long bubble bath.
And just imagine, you would have to be Taylor Swift taking a massive dump at some point, so enjoy that too.
I'm just going to shake it off. Oh, sorry. Pinch it off.
Oh, jeez. I quit. I'm going to go be on a different show. I want to be on... Adam, let's go form a show real quick.
All right, so...
it's called Scheduling Nightmares.
This question comes in from Kana. Pretty sure it's been asked, but it's been a while. So who was your first video game waifu and first anime waifu? For Kana, they believe it was Princess Peach from Mario 2, but memory's kind of fuzzy, and they know that the first anime waifu was Yoko from Devil Hunter Yoko. And who is your current waifu?
Let's see. I guess I'll jump in on this. First anime would definitely have to be Sailor Girl, First video game? Toughie, actually.
Well, I have answers for both of those if you guys want me to just go ahead and give mine.
Feel free to hopscotch, yeah.
My first video game...
I feel like it's going to be Rara-chan for you.
Well, who?
Lara Croft.
Oh, yes. Yes, that was my first video game waifu for sure, was Lara Croft. Tomb Raider, yeah, that was just... Me and my dad loved playing that game back in the day together. So, first anime waifu? Dude, it had to be Misty. Because I think that was the first anime I got into, was Pokemon.
You would have been that age.
Or I don't know, maybe there was a cute girl on Digimon that I don't remember, but I don't know. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
The Digimon kids were slightly younger than they were 8 compared to 10 to.
Yeah, it must have been Misty, dude.
All right. I think I got an answer.
I think my video game one might have been Katana from Mortal Kombat.
Oh, good choice.
I kind of thought that her whole thing was just really mysterious and alluring.
What you make a love?
All right. Well, this was kind of tough because now we got to go back to all the childhoods. I'm gonna say video game waifu. I would probably argue it was Rosa from Final Fantasy 2/4.
Ooh, nice. I can totally see that.
And then first anime, it was not Sailor Moon. It was actually Sailor Jupiter.
Kind of the spirited, fighty one.
It could have been Sailor Mars, but I don't know. For some reason, I like Jupiter better.
Mars seems like she's a lot to deal with.
She is. And then, there's Venus, but no, I'm definitely going to say Jupiter. And I think it had more to do with, her powers and the way she presented herself and all that. There's more to this. There's more to the question, though, right?
Oh, there was also the current. What's your current waifu? I guess I don't think I have one. I guess I'm Debosto.
So who is your current waifu?
Does it have to be anime waifu?
I don't think it specifies. I think anime, video game, anything that you could call a waifu. It can't be a 3D real person. You can't bring Taylor Swift back from the previous question.
It's for a game that's not out yet.
Even better.
Willie, have you seen the Smithy for Wilds yet? The new Smithy?
No.
Look up Gemma at the Smithy really quick.
That is not what I was
Oh,
expecting.
she's cool.
Dude, and I've seen the I saw a sneak peek of the cutscene when she's actually forging gear for you. Dude, they did not spare the sweat.
Sheesh, they've already got cosplayers.
Like they freaking made her glisten and then like look up from the forge and like wipe her forehead and have her hair like kind of flip and flow as she does it. And I'm watching this and I'm looking at the comments. And of course, the comments are stuff along the lines of like, I'm never skipping another smithing cutscene ever again.
As someone who never skipped the cooking cutscenes, I kind of understand that.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't skip the cooking cutscenes either. Especially like, even though they were basic in Rise, they were still charming in their own sense. But man,
It looked so delicious, and the cats were always having such a great time.
oh god, Monster Hunter World had some of the best looking food out of
Oh,
that
that's a joke,
whole
bruh.
series. Like Monster Hunter Rise had like dango, which I don't know. I don't understand how you go from like the best looking food ever to like beef dumplings on a stick.
I mean, we're not insulting Dongo. It's just when you were giving us 25 pounds of medium rare meat in the previous game, we have expectations now.
Willie, we should start a clowncore band and call it Beef Dumplings on a Stick.
I can play drums.
Well, good, because
Play the
to
triangle.
play clowncore, I just need you to play something really quickly for like 30 seconds.
Honk a little bike horn.
And then, and just honk up. If you're looking at me like you don't know what I'm talking about, I will enlighten you after we're done.
Are you talking? Is clowncore like using only like clown stuff, like cowbells and horns and stuff like that?
There is a lot of that.
No, there's literally a band called Clowncore that pioneered the genre. Kind of like how Death pioneered the death metal genre.
Yeah, so clowncore is just two dudes. They dress up like clowns, and sometimes they record in their van. Sometimes they record in a porta potty. Sometimes they record in really weird places, and they play what I can only describe as like grindcore, and then they'll just drop into jazz, and then they'll drop back into grindcore, and then they'll drop into jazz, and then there'll be like a clown horn, honk honk, and it's real weird.
It's very schizophrenic. Like they immediately switch from like grindcore type noises to like clown noises or to like smooth jazz and then back and forth like immediately. Like it's very
What?
jarring.
Yeah,
The one song I remember by them, the first one I ever heard, like maybe so, was called I ate a Luna bar and my dick fell off.
yeah, they're real weird. They're real weird. So Willie, who is your current waifu?
I said I'm Debosto because I thought that would be a funny joke and then no one laughed at it.
It wasn't
So,
funny.
Let me try to. I hate you, man.
I love you, Willie.
I don't know who that is.
Dude.
Can I just point out that Dane
It's
like?
just me trying to say divorced in the same way as like waifu and husband.
Can I just
Oh.
point out that Dane like posted an image in our recording show chat because he's a fuck, and I can't stop looking at it.
Oh, it's Rosario Dawson from Clerks.
Is it?
Clerks 2.
Ah.
I have that uniform that she's wearing. I have one. It's in my closet hanging behind my shelf.
I didn't even realize that
It's a
that
good
was
gif.
from Clerks.
I don't know, man. If I had to come up with someone,
Is it Rosario Dawson from Clerks?
that's a real life 3D person. Doesn't count. Can't waifu. This is harder than
Are
I
you sure
expected.
it's not like somebody from Yakuza?
I mean, I hate to say it, but Yakuza does not really write female characters with enough substance to usually stick with you. For very
I suppose
long.
that's fair. What about the girl from Ys 8? Laxia.
Laxia? I was actually considering.
Trying to think of some other like badass.
Girls from games we've done recently.
Yeah, some badasses from
Ooh, 2B is a perennial option. That can't go wrong.
or
with
not.
that. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna say 2B because
Or not to be.
or not 2B. Yeah. I'm just gonna go with that in the same sense that, like, if you go into a bar and you don't know any of the beers they have and you order a Guinness, it's never wrong.
Yeah.
It won't be the best one they have, but it's never wrong. That's 2B.
Word. All right. Current waifu. Since I can't pick like real people, because I would just say my lovely Diana is my waifu, of course.
Bitch.
I think that if I had to go, so part of me wants to say Maple from Bofuri because she's just like super wholesome and she's also a badass. But then there's also like Aqua and Darkness from Konosuba, who are both
Oh, okay.
absolutely hilarious.
That is definitely a show that's meant to give people waifu feelings too. So
Yeah, you have Aqua, who is like a goddess, but she's completely useless. And then you have Darkness, And Darkness is like this really tough paladin chick, but like really likes getting beat up. And I mean, really likes getting beat up. And they're both ridiculous. But I'm going to go for the wholesomeness. I'll go Maple from Bo Fury.
I cannot hear Bo Fury without thinking it's a setup to a D's Nuts joke.
Bo Fury, D's Nuts. Yeah.
It has the mouth feel.
And I'm just saying, that's not a bad wrestling name, Bo Fury.
Bo Fury. All right.
And you could come out in a shield and like reference the show and see if anybody got it.
My finishing move, Elbow Fury.
All right. So Adam sent this.
That's an image one.
And it's an image. It says, agree or disagree. Now, I'm going to describe this as an American, and then I'll read you what it says. First picture is a picture of steak fries. The second picture is a picture of like McDonald's style fries. And the third picture are potato chips.
Yeah, like Lay's chips or Walker's crisps.
Now this says the first picture, which I'm assuming is the steak fries, is chips. The second one is fries. And the third one is crisps. Anything else is wrong. Do we agree or disagree?
I think that I would actually... Okay, typically if an American says chips, they're meaning the little fried guys, the potato chips on the... I just call them potato chips by default instead of disambiguating. The crisps, basically. Like the Lay's or the Walkers or your Ruffles or whatever. But if you called the little steak fry looking ones chips in the context of fish and chips, nobody's going to give you shit. Like, Americans do order it as fish and chips. They do think of it as English food, perhaps, but like people know what you... The middle one is definitely fries. There's not a more clean or concise way. I couldn't imagine calling those chips if I was from even a country that says chips for, the normal size. But yeah, steak fries is what I would use also in the neutral. That's where I'm at.
See, this is just a very cultural thing. Like, to me, it's fries, potato chips. I think
the interesting one has got to be the middle one, because that one, like, I could see people calling it chips if they're from a chips country, but that feels wrong. Those are clearly fries, right? Whereas the first one, you could call them chips and I wouldn't have a problem.
Well, here's the thing. I think that middle one is thrown in there as almost like a red herring, because it is both of those things. You know what I mean? Like, they call steak fries chips. Then why don't they call those fries chips?
I mean, because they're fries.
But
this is complicated.
But they're the same thing. They're just different size.
Well, then there's.
I mean, if you really want to split hairs, if you cut them long ways, if you cut them broad ways instead of long ways, and you cut them extremely thin and fried them, you'd end up with what we call chips. It's the same technique mostly.
I'm hungry now.
Yeah, honestly, I'm craving some salty potato snacks. I've been really going nuts for salty snacks lately, man. Crackers and
those
pretzels.
Steak fries actually look really good right now. I wish I had a package of steak fries in my fridge or
some
freezer.
Of those with some malt vinegar.
Back when I was, like young and I could put all sorts of junk in my body without consequence, I would get those with cheese and gravy.
Oh, pub fries.
What are they?
Hell yeah.
Pub fries.
Pretty much. No? But it's basically just cheese fries with gravy. And oh man, if that didn't make my intestines do some things.
That does sound really good. I love gravy, so
I haven't had it in years because my body can't handle it anymore.
It's like I love poutine because it's just fries and gravy with some cheese curds in it. It's delicious.
Poutine D's nuts.
Still never had it, but in your mouth. I've never tried it. I'm interested. Very interested. I'm sure if we have any Canadian listeners, they're going to be like, how can you have never eaten it? And I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, if we have any Canadian listeners, what is Tim Hortons really like?
A magical land that was better before Burger King bought it.
Yeah, probably. That's probably true. All right, boys. I guess we can get into some house cleaning because we don't have a game to announce. Next up is Yakuza 5. We're going to be knocking that out in 2 weeks.
Oh,
I love giving Canada facts as someone who's never been north of Indianapolis.
I want to go to Canada someday.
Yeah, me
hell
too.
Yeah, me too.
I'd like to plan a vacation to Toronto at some point. I was gonna say something now, and the Canada talk threw me off. Oh, I've been actually playing a good deal of Yakuza 5. I don't know if I'm gonna beat it before the show, but I'm gonna try.
I am told it's among or is the longest in the series. I'm glad that we got started a little bit early because
See, my problem is I'm not doing much of the main story.
I have really been caught up in taxi stuff. I
did all that, but we'll talk about that in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Word up then, gentlemen. If you would do us a favor and go give us a like and review over on iTunes and Spotify. Give us a 5-star review. Tell us what you think about the show. It really helps us out in the algorithm, helps people find the show, which we just had somebody join the Discord today that found the show just Googling. So that's cool that we're showing up on Google. I'm glad to hear that. If you want to join the Discord that I just mentioned is bit.l or to the antithesis of what Mikhailov thought, the Discord link does still work, is bit.ly/TSMP Discord, all capital letters, and that'll get you an invite into the Discord, and you can come join in on the shenanigans, vote on the polls for the listener-picked games, and all of that good jazz. We got a good crew in there, and slowly but surely, some more people are popping in, and it's nice to see.
I think the all caps was what was giving him hell, because if you get a wrong Discord link, it always tells you it's expired instead of a 404.
Yeah, I didn't put it in all caps.
If you would like to check out the website, kept up to date by Dane, it's bit.ly/the Steam Machine Podcast, capitalized that phonetically. Patreon, if you want to donate to the show, that's patreon.com/the Steam Machine Podcast. Donate $1 or more a month. It gets you the episodes early. You get all the little banter in the beginning that's just for the patrons. And if you donate $10 or more, you get your name read on each and every episode like these wonderful people. Nate Sir Cogsworth, the 7th of June-iper, Jeff, the original Expendable, Mr. Syllables, Old Jeffy Lube, also He's a Duck, Ariesoradam, shout out to his podcast, Revival and Extinction, Team Retrogue, go check him out over on YouTube, Mr. Puzzles, Dane himself, Chad the Mad Lad, no goddamn C in his last name, Shaffer, Flyin, Brian, Doran Gray, the RPG, Wolverine, Logan, Joreid, and boys, while we were recording, we got a new member at the $20 tier, so thank you very much to Daniel Kearns. And I hope I said that correctly.
Oh, does that mean we're going to be doing a Patreon pick soon?
I don't know, so I have to reach out to them and find out. So I will get with you, and we'll figure that out. And if you just decided that you just wanted to give us that, then that's cool too. But either way, thank you very much. It means a lot that you guys support the show. Other than that, shout out to the JRPG Report and Mikhailov. Plug your stuff, my good sir.
Team Retrogue on YouTube.
Oh, okay, that is.
Yeah, I'm too tired to go into detail on it.
That is
Team Retrogue.
Fair enough, my good sir. You can find him pretty much anywhere if you just search Team Retrogue. Willie, you got anything you would like to plug, my good sir?
Yeah, check me out on Retro Achievements. I'm Icebrand Pixels on that site. It's a fun way to compare your scores on Retrograde games, and it's not too difficult to set up. If you want help setting it up, ask someone in the Discord. We'd be happy to get you started, because it's just a super fun way of bringing a little bit of extra fun to your retro game.
Yeah, for sure. And linking it to RetroArch is so easy to do, and it's super cool. Yeah. So yeah, for sure.
Had more difficulty dealing with the handheld itself trying to make problems than putting it into, just because I didn't realize that it had separate settings for the achievements in RetroArch and the achievements in the OS.
They're supposed to link up, so that's bizarre that it gave you trouble.
It was just doing something weird. I think one of the settings was overriding another setting.
That does happen.
We got it fixed.
Well, all right then, boys. This has been a great episode on the Unfinished Swan, and we'll be back in 2 weeks to talk to you all about Yakuza 5 Remastered. But until then, everybody, take it easy.